You are listening to We Are the Compassionate Revolution. I'm your podcast host, therapist, author, boundaries guide, Molly Moon. If you are a compassionate person and you want to know your worth, set better boundaries, live from your truth, and operate in your fullness, then I am so glad you've joined us. You ready? Let's get started. I have a very special treat for you all today at We Are the Compassionate Revolution. We have a guest, Lauren Smallcomb. So Lauren has a background as a registered nurse, as a nutritionist, birth doula, is now a mind-body practitioner. Her husband, Luke, is a therapist. And Lauren has a book out. This book is called Golden Child, My Descent to Scapegoat and Rise to Freedom. And there are some themes in this book that will resonate with so many of my followers. We have dysfunctional family systems. We got Christian nationalism and the effects of fundamentalism on the individual and on the family. We got family roles, the golden child being one of those. We're going to get into that. We got family estrangement, boundaries. We've got grief, emotional health and healing, reclamation. I just got chills. We're going to have a wonderful time today. So welcome, Lauren. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you so much. It feels so good to be on here with you and just instantly a kindred spirits a while back because of the warmth and the genuineness of the way that you show up in this space. It's just so attractive, for lack of a better word, to the rest of us who want to also show up that way. So this feels really cool. And you've read it. I've had a lot of interviews where people haven't read it yet and they actually prefer it that way because they want to ask the questions as if they don't know. But I think it's really cool to do interviews where you've actually read through the story and you can help guide this conversation to benefit the listeners. I love that.
I felt the same way about you and Luke. There's just an immediate I really like this account. I really like these people. And I think that there's an authenticity. So thank you for modeling it right back. Just to start out, for folks who don't know you, have never heard of you before, just share a little bit about who you are. How would somebody, get to know Lauren? What would they know about her?
I like to think of myself as a wounded healer. And I just really resonate with that term because my journey has taken many twists and turns in my pursuit of what maybe we'd call wholeness or healing. And that kind of started way back, the fact that I was unwell for many, many years, starting as a little girl, really developing these autoimmune diseases and these chronic symptoms and seemingly having this perfect world around me, but my body did not reflect that. And so into my 20s, I began to look into the different healing modalities and try to find what was right for me and what I needed, and always looking for that root cause, but it always kind of slipping away, not being able to find it. And so that's just a big part of who I am, is this quest for healing, this quest for taking hold of the fullest life that I could find in my specific situations and circumstances that I found myself in. But I'm a mom and I'm a partner. I'm wife to Luke. And isn't it funny? We think of how to define ourselves by who we are to other people.
It's kind of that how we start, even though it's not who we actually are.
Right. It's a big part of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not your essence though, and how to define your essence to someone. Hopefully this conversation will show more of who I am as we continue.
Oh yeah. There's so many themes in your book. It's like a tapestry. All good books are. And I remember when I said yes, and then I got your book, and then I started it, as you know, on a plane trip because I don't, I'm going to be sitting on a plane. I will have time to do this. one of the benefits of living in Alaska is all your plane trips are long plane trips.
Ah,
But once I started, I had this like moment of like, oh shit, what if, you just never know. Like, what if I just said yes and I don't like the book? What do you
right.
do then? I'm like, well, I guess I'll just be very politely honest. Well, I
Yes.
started and like, as the book got going, especially based on my own history, I'm like, well, that's not going to be a problem. Here, I was so
Phew.
hooked. And there's so many different themes in some ways. I mean, a healthy marriage is one of the themes, interestingly, in a book about dysfunctional family systems, right? And
Yeah, how
props
ironic.
to Luke. Yes. And then
Mhm.
chronic health, that journey for anybody dealing with chronic health issues. You did a really beautiful job of bringing that in and how much that impacts life.
Mm.
Before we get started talking about the book per se, would you share a bit about, for people who have no background in family systems, what is a golden child? The name of this book comes from that. What is a golden child in a family system?
The golden child is the person that's given the role. This happens without conscious awareness, usually in family systems, but it is the person based off maybe their temperament, their birth order, personality, the other players that are already on stage, whatever. It's the person that's given the role of projecting the goodness that the family system wants to be known for, wants to be seen by. And it's a child, one of the children. There's usually a scapegoat and there's a
Yeah.
golden child. So there's usually that polarity.
Talk
That's
about the
really,
scapegoat a little bit. I was going to ask about that
yeah.
next. It's so important.
The scapegoat is in the same way that the golden child is kind of, quote, chosen for their temperament, their personality, kind of their ambitions towards goodness. The scapegoat is chosen based off the way that they don't fit the mold of whatever family system they're in. So
Mm,
scapegoats are often really artistic. They think outside
mm.
the box. They have a strong sense of justice. They have a strong ability to call out crap and not pretend and not perform and not play
Which
the
is a problem.
game.
Which is a problem if there's a game to be played.
Exactly. If there's a game to be played, the scapegoat's going to be a massive liability. And so, how these systems manage that is they scapegoat that person. So the person's still, in the system and still in the house, even, but they're shown clearly as the bad one. And so all of the bad that the system doesn't know how to face gets
Mm.
projected onto the scapegoat. And so they have both of these roles kind of holding out the system's framework of good and bad in that really rigid binary. And that is what helps these systems not have to flex, mold, evolve, shape themselves and grow
Oh, you
because they
said
have that
it.
good bad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great way. That's so good because we got our good one, we got our bad one, and we can focus on those things and we don't have to actually think about sort of there's a state of missing health in this system.
Yeah.
But as long as you can focus on here's the good one, see, it's all working out great.
It's
And as
all
long as you
working.
can pour out your anger and frustration, it's always the bad one, quote, quote's fault. Then you don't ever have to actually look at what's really going on or ask bigger questions.
You don't. It's a cop out. The kids are sacrificed on this
Yes.
altar of fragility, is really what rigidity is. It's like there's so much fragility in the system, it cannot do the necessary work that all people have ahead of them, which is growth and evolution.
Mm.
It's not able to do that. And so these children are given these roles, which are bad for all of them. And one of the important parts of kind of my mission is showing that even the golden child role, it sounds so wonderful and how could it go wrong? But it really sets these children and eventual adult children up for tremendous betrayal, heartache, and loss when they can no longer keep up the facade.
Because you don't actually get to be a full person.
That's
You're
right.
performing a role. What a strain on the system. Even though it's nice to get the gold stars,
Yep.
Would you share a bit? Let's bring it into you because this book really starts there in many ways. Bring us into, as much as you feel comfortable talking about Lauren as a child, what was it like before you knew these things? What was it like to be the golden child?
Yeah, I'm glad to talk about it because it's how I've come to make sense of my story. It's been
Hmm.
really important for me to like venture back to those spaces and try to understand. And really, at face value, it was wonderful. I had the delight of both parents. I had acceptance and belonging to a really big degree from them, not from my siblings, because usually these systems are set up to where siblings are not close and intimate. A loyalty to the parents is really the key in these systems, loyalty to the system.
Wouldn't it
But
be hard for the other siblings when somebody's a golden child, everybody else feels the lack and watches the other child get what they're longing for? And it's really hard to form connective bonds.
right, you're automatically putting this animosity or at the very least just like subtle bitterness among each other. And now looking back, I can see that. But of course, at the time, I didn't see that. And I didn't understand why, particularly my scapegoated sister, why she was seemed to have so much animosity towards me. I didn't understand. I just felt like
Yeah.
she didn't like me and felt like I wasn't good enough for her, like those types of things. But, looking back now, it's like as an adult, oh, wow, exactly. I see why she felt that
Yeah.
way. It only emphasized to her everything she, quote, didn't have or didn't embody. And so for me, I think it was a state of, in one sense, like blissful unawareness. That was one of the benefits. I was playing the golden role and I got the
Feels
golden.
good.
It
Yeah.
did. It
Yeah.
did feel good. On the other hand, I think there's all of this developmental stuff that's supposed to be happening that wasn't happening with individuation and me finding my own autonomy and perspectives and
Mm.
opinions on things and learning how to take up space and not just comply and not just kowtow to what the expectations were. So when a child doesn't have that space to grow into that, they're really stunted in a lot of ways, and it's a significant disadvantage to them and to their growth and development.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because when you look at it from kind of the pathology centered viewpoint that we're given in Western psychology, sort of, it's like, well, the scapegoat's going to be the one who's probably going to get the diagnosis.
Mhm.
And the golden child is going to be getting the raises and getting the better positions at work because they can,
Right.
and so it's funny because you'd think from the outside, well, the golden child's fine. In fact, it wasn't even fair. So they really don't need any attention. But what they actually find is, yeah, no, the golden child has like the world's greatest anxiety disorder. And I mean, just because of like having to be perfect all the time,
Yep.
has no sense, like emotional health comes through performance, people pleasing, all those sorts of things.
Yep.
And what do you do when you want to start developing your own opinions, when you start deviating from what the family system says you have to be? Where are the tools and the resiliency needed to start becoming yourself?
That's right.
Everybody in the family pays a terrible price when humans are stuck in rigid roles.
That's where empathy can come in for all the different roles is it's
Yeah.
like, oh, this is actually only serving the system. It's not serving any of the people. And
Ooh.
I would never say like the golden child definitely has more of an advantage in the sense that there's this attachment slash pseudo attachment that they're given. And so there are some benefits from that. Even if it's an insecure attachment, it's still more than the scapegoat is given. We grow and thrive off of the delight of our parents.
Yep.
So even
And
if
that's
their
healthy.
delight,
That's
it's
healthy.
it's
Right. Yeah.
healthy, exactly.
Yeah.
So in my system, it was there. And yes, it was disproportionate and dysfunctional, but it was still there. And so I did develop a sense of self and I did develop more of a secure attachment than my siblings did. And that's gone on to benefit me in my adulthood and in my own parenting and friendships and work and all of those things. But like you said, it doesn't mean that there's not pathologies that develop in these golden children. And actually, I think for whatever reason, I don't know how, but my empathy, I think, was very protective of me developing like a personality disorder or narcissistic tendency because I had such a deep, deep empathy that I was the golden child who was helping everyone and who was trying to fix everything and was like the bleeding heart of the family.
Yes.
And that doesn't always happen. Some golden children are pretty, they're just a mirror of the narcissistic parent.
Yeah.
And they go on to cause a lot of harm.
That was one of the things I was just so happy about when I was reading your book. And I'm like, I got to interview you for the podcast because so many people I work with, since I work with compassionate people,
right?
There are so many golden children who come into this work who couldn't become the narcissist because they have so much compassion in them, and yet we're the star. But now what? Or know how to get all the gold stars, but had to live a life where they were basically trained to keep the people pleased. And what happens when we're ready to start breaking out of that? And is it even okay? And how do I tell my family no when I have been trained to keep my family happy? Like, do not piss these people off, all that. This.
It's such a double bind.
It's such a like, there's no winning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you share here just a bit about what was it that allowed you to begin opening your eyes to realizing, wait a minute, maybe my reality with my family is a little bit different than I thought? And what was that like?
Yeah.
That began to happen?
So first, what started to kind of, I call it like an unraveling. And there's even, I had the book designer, he did the golden child in thread. And
as an artist, I loved that.
Yes, thank you. It was fabricated. It was made by someone. But then I was like, can you make the thread start to fray and unravel?
So good.
And he was like, yes, that'll be awesome. So what started to unravel, ironically, there's so many ironic parts of my story, and really all of our stories, is the caring nature and the empathetic, compassionate part of me that I was raised to develop for the family system. It was looking out into this great big world and seeing all the pain outside of my little perfect bubble that I lived in. And it was like I couldn't turn that off. They wanted that to just be for them. And it couldn't, because once I started seeing pain in other people, my body was naturally responding to that and wanting to care about that pain too, and that mattering too. And so specifically that started happening in 2015. If you're American and listening to this, you probably remember there were a lot of Black Lives Matter protests at the time because there had been more unjust killings of unarmed Black people. And then President Trump was elected as the candidate. And well, he wasn't president yet, but I started to question, like you said, okay, wait, this is the things we say come from a very high control religious system and family that embraced all that, fundamentalists, Christian nationalists. And I just started looking at it and thinking, wait, is this what we believe? Do we really not care about these people's pain that are crying out, demanding to be better understood?
Because why wouldn't we? Because wait, doesn't this fit all the things that one is taught?
Exactly. It's like I almost didn't even get it at first. Now I look back and I just laugh at my innocent, naive little self. But I almost had that response of like, wait, we care about this too, not realizing how polarized and divided things were, and that the right had said, that's not what we can care about. That's at least what my parents told me. But yeah, it was a very natural overflow of care and love and concern which is what I was conditioned to do from the get-go.
Wow.
It just now so happened that the people that were like garnering my attention were not seen as ultimately as worthy of it. And
So wild, isn't it?
that is where the divide began. It is so ironic. I think
Yes.
about it often.
Yeah, it is mind-blowing and kind of cool in some ways. Like the positive principles here actually helped create a way out. I really love
Yeah,
that.
they did.
I loved in your book, that was another thing. There's so many, I think in the review I wrote, I gushed about that racism and just that conversation about
Yeah,
racism. I loved how you talked about that, like grappling with this, like, well, wait, there's this systemic racism here. Why is this a bad thing for me to be talking about, though I'm so
right.
confused? And if I put any of my family member in the shoes of what we just saw happen on this video, I'd
Yes,
be absolutely outraged. Why aren't we outraged? And the answers to that are really disturbing.
they are.
And then what do you do if you're the type of person who can't shut off your compassion and keeps asking questions?
That's
But,
right.
well, actually, what then? So there's been like a ripple in the pond. There's a
Yep.
disturbance in the force in this way of like, okay, wait. Here's the way the world works. It's all nice and clean. See, look at your box. Yay. Everything's
Yes,
perfect. And by the way, just for my listeners, there's lots of people that I work with and love and very pro whatever faith somebody has that gives them
that's right.
life.
Yep,
It's when one is in a system that is not life-giving to oneself, what then?
yes,
That's what we're talking about here.
yep,
And what happened next? As there's this awareness of like, oh, I just ran into the edges of the box I'm in this area.
right.
But you're the golden child, so people listen to you and care about what you say. So I imagine that would be very perplexing.
It was so perplexing. That was actually the second part of your last question that I forgot to answer is just like, how did that feel? And yes, it was like the Alice in Wonderland, like falling down the,
Ooh,
it-
rabbit hole. Yeah.
yes. And it's just
Yeah.
like these psychedelic shapes and twisting and turning. And it was such a descent, which is why I use that term in my subtitle,
Mm.
My Descent to Scapegoat and Rise to Freedom. It was like free falling because I was, like you said, used to the facade of having a say, the facade of my
Oh, that's a good
voice
way to put it.
mattering. Yeah, because I really thought it did. I didn't realize it was just because I was parroting exactly what they said. So I began saying something different, and that I met with such strong resistance and such strong silencing
Mm.
that I felt incredibly disillusioned. This will make someone just be utterly turned upside down and feel very, very lost as to how to navigate the world when your whole identity is like, well, actually, maybe you're not golden. If you're saying these things, if you're questioning these things and rocking the boat like this, maybe you're not who we once said you were. We're going to take away that title if you do not stop. And that was made
Wow.
very clear.
I mean, I'm sure it's a bit different for everyone in their own unique context, but what was
Yeah,
that like for you on a self-worth level, on an emotional health level, on a personal identity level? Because that title had always been there.
right. It had. It's so hard to explain how disillusioned I was. It's like that one of the analogies I've used is looking at this beautiful watershed of life, and there's nature all around, and there's these lush trees, and the stream is clear and flowing, and it's beautiful and pristine.
Mm.
And then all of a sudden, it starts to change. This is the illusion dropping. And the water is actually, there's these toxins pouring into this water, and there's dead fish floating, and actually all the trees
Oh,
around it are not making it. They're withering away. And so it's like the whole image of your lens just starts to change pretty quickly. I mean, it's kind of like after a car accident when you just keep asking yourself, you're just walking around scratching your head trying to make sense of what happened. That's kind of how quick it really began, and the whiplash of, wait, I thought I
Wow.
was not. So as you can imagine how that affects one's mental health,
Absolutely.
it's profound. It's across the board, just upending what you know to be reality, or what what was
Yeah.
touted as reality, which is now very different.
It was such a powerful metaphor because then once that shock wears off, it's almost like you have to kind of go back to your earlier memories and go, wait, was it like this all along? And I just didn't,
Exactly.
it makes you feel like you're losing your mind.
Yep. And thankfully, I had a partner, and not everyone has this benefit, but he had been with me through many years of relationship with my family. We were actually high school sweethearts, which is connected to the high control religion piece and getting married super early.
Good job, golden child.
Oh, yes, I did the golden thing. Woohoo. But he was able to tell me and reflect back, which can be so helpful when you're being gaslit, is to have those safe anchors around you to be like, no, listen, what you're seeing is reality. Like, this is actually true. They saw you this way. Look at all of this evidence that they did see you as the golden child, that they did say all of these wonderful things about you and give you this privilege and power and role in the system. And kind of going back and remembering did help me to be able to say, oh, okay, then it did change. And what changed it? To kind of anchor myself back into present day happenings and make
Yes.
sense of it through a
Yes.
lens of truth versus like gaslighting. It can just get really confusing.
It's such an appropriate use of that word. It's that crazy making, that gaslighting. I don't want to deviate from what we're talking about, but I do just want to add that piece about Luke. It was another one of those in this tapestry of this book. There's this very healthy man present who's a human. You're not
Yeah.
putting Luke on a pedestal, saying,
No,
my totally perfect husband who knew everything, guided me out. No, it's a very human
no.
process
Yeah.
where you both in some ways, but you are finding your way out in the rubble. But it was a very touching, beautiful, and unexpectedly powerful piece was Luca modeling how to be a healthy partner. And in many ways, also, I think as our world changes and so many of us are coming into ourselves and what does it mean to be me fully in health? Luke modeled how to be a healthy man. There's this beautiful masculinity it's very
Mhm.
interestingly it's in juxtaposition to
Yeah,
kind of there's a here's the patriarchy, here's this other version of control
exactly.
over you
Yeah.
masculinity trying to do something very different. Actually, let's talk about that a little bit. And I'm not trying to put anyone in your family down. Of course, I know you're not either. It's like there's always reasons why everyone does what
Sure.
they do, and
Yes.
humans have been brainwashed for a long time to think that these things are all okay and everything's great.
Yeah.
But there was kind of a expectation of dad said it, therefore it is the word of the Lord
Right.
that you were
Oh,
dealing with
for
there.
sure. Uh-huh.
What was that like to begin to question? Because there was a lot of good in that relationship too. I think that's the grief part that you did such a good job of bringing out. This sucks. Like there was actually a real relationship there also that had some sweetness, but turns out it only came with you have to fully submit to this way of thinking and being, or you can't have the sweetness.
I mean, you're naming it so precisely. That's where the grief came. One of the earlier titles was going to be like love and harm in the
Mm,
intersection of our, most intimate connections. That's the pain of it because both was there. Both
yeah.
was
Oh, my heart.
absolutely there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So achy. That's
Mm,
why the longing for what was lost, even though I know cognitively, like it was built on a lie, I still long for that space of warmth and connection and camaraderie that I shared with my parents because it was very much there. It's just like you said, it was all contingent upon me continuing in that role. And
Yes.
that role had a timeline. It had an expiration date. Really, from the beginning, one of the things a book coach had shared with me is just like, I know your parents don't know this because these roles are so subconscious, but as soon as you're set up to be a golden child for a faith system, for a family, whatever,
Mhm.
you are on a timeline and it is going to expire potentially. Some people maybe do
Whoa.
their whole life as a golden child, but many of us find we cannot do that. And how
Wow.
cruel to almost be set up to have it all and then lose
Yeah.
everything.
Oh,
That is such a fall. That is such, like you said, rubble. That was also one of the images in the beginning that I thought of, like finding your way among the rubble when everything has fallen down. The whole Jenga tower is
yeah.
just collapsed and everything's in pieces. How do you find your way out of that? How do you rebuild? It's really setting people up for a um, massively disorienting destruction
Yes. A
that
lot of
a
people
lot
don't
can't
make it out.
rebuild from. Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Many people
It's
can't make
hard.
it out.
Well,
Yep.
that's one of the things I love about what you're doing is because it gives it a name, it gives it a thing, even though you can experience being a golden child in a variety of different settings. This is just
Totally.
one of them, but it all has the same flavor and the same feel no matter what the setting is. That kind of the props may change, but
Yeah.
the energy's the same. Those rigid family roles suck for humans. They're just terrible for everybody. And
Mhm.
anybody who does decide they're going to heal, they're going to wake up, and they're going to find a way out is oddly giving the family the opportunity of a great gift. But the chances are pretty high that the family's not going to see it that way.
Yeah. That they won't take the gift and actually do the evolution that
Yeah.
is waiting for them. Yeah.
Sometimes it's the scapegoat who does it. Sometimes it's the golden child who does it.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to do it. And I think for my listeners that we're talking to the people who are doing it, have done it, or would
That's
really
right.
like to do it, but don't know if they can live through it. And I love
Truly.
that about your story because, and again, we're not touching so many things in the book itself. So the book, if any part of this is resonating, get the book because
Yeah.
there's so many themes in there that are also explored. But, you know, I don't know if there's a making it out where everything feels good, happy,
Mhm.
happy, joy, joy all the time, because it's a sad thing.
Yeah.
But you did begin finding a way out. Would you talk about that a little bit? Hey, my friends. I firmly believe that the common struggles we compassionate people face are often doorways, pointing us to the hidden beliefs that so many times keep us stuck. So if overgiving or people-pleasing or guilt around boundaries has been holding you back, I created something to help. It's called the Boundaries Breakthrough Mini Course, and right now, it's totally free. So if you feel the tug to grow in your boundaries journey, this is for you. You can start today at boundary.com/breakthrough. And if you're interested in coming to work with me more closely, the mini course is a wonderful way to dip your toe in the water, get some real help, and if you want to continue with me after that, then cool. I would love that. Boundary.com/breakthrough. It's really good stuff. Have fun.
Yeah, I like to say that I kind of entered into this long-term relationship with grief. It's the only way that you can survive such tremendous loss is partnering with your grief and letting it come along for the ride. Like this isn't some, oh, I go away for a grief weekend and like cry it all out, pound it all out, and feel,
I feel great about being estranged from my family now.
right.
Like,
Like this
yay,
is
said no one
not.
ever. Yeah.
Yes. And a lot of grief is like that. A lot of these losses that we hold and that we tend to are such significant. We're of people that we just cherished and would love to still be in relationship with. But like we learn those boundaries are necessary for our own survival.
Yeah.
And
And you tried, and you tried, and you
we,
tried, and you tried, and you tried, and you tried.
so much trying, and so much even now, I've maintained an openness in my own heart for if they ever did return
Wow.
and want genuine repair. And
Mm.
that is something that I'm open to, but there's been zero signs of it. So
Yeah.
finding your way through is different for everyone, of course, but this long-term relationship with grief, I think, is a huge part of it. And
Mm.
finding ways to lean into things that make you feel alive, even when you feel so much death.
That was a powerful part of your book as well. Yeah.
I'm so glad that came
Mm.
through
Mhm.
because it really was like these things began to slowly bring me back to life, being out in nature,
Yeah.
having
Oh, yeah, I'm here. Oh,
right,
'cause it's
exactly.
hard to be here. The mind's, like, obsessed kind of in a way with everything that's
Mm.
happening. It's hard to be in the present moment at all.
It's nearly impossible, but it is possible.
Mhm.
And in these little incremental ways, people have gone through traumatic grief and loss. They begin to, like a gradient, show up. The dark colors are still with them. They begin to show up with this light too. And that light slowly and slowly begins to build, and the sunrise, I guess you could say, gets bigger and bigger. And the grief comes along with you. It's not that you have to replace the grief, but the beauty and goodness just begins to reshape your reality in a way that allows the sadness and the heaviness to have space to take up what it needs, while also finding the lightness required to keep living, really. And so many things in my life did that. People, nature, my pets, my doggies, writing really helped, poetry, music. I joined the gym and started like building muscle, which made me feel like I was strong again and made
Mhm.
me feel like I could take up space. So many things like that been
I
part of
love
my
how
recovery.
you were taught, and I speak as an American. I hear this a lot from many people who are kind of in the more Western cultures. We have this like allergy kind of that develops around anything that isn't happy. And so a lot of our solutions, we then find like, how can I get rid of this feeling?
Right.
And in a way, that actually keeps us stuck. For example, if you are the golden child, keeping other people happy and playing the game will also keep you happy, sort of, happy
Yeah.
enough. And I love how you just went there with that answer and said it's making peace with the fact that it's just not going to feel good. It's
Yeah.
going to ache. And
Yeah.
no longer giving the grief a timeline or any like fine, but only if you last for 3 months and then I better be better, or only,
Yeah.
I love how it just, you sort of honor the fact that there is a sadness and a sorrow here. I wish it was different. It is not. I
Mm.
accept that. And I'm going to figure out how to live anyways with this wound in the family system that I wish wasn't there. That's powerful. That's big power right there.
It's the only way that I'm still okay in
Oh,
the larger sense of the term?
I want to move away from what's in the book, if that's actually even possible, a little bit, and move into, I work with and love and am friends with a
Mhm.
lot of compassionate people who, as we heal, so many of us find that there's a calling or a gift or a passion or a something in us that wants to come out into the world. But that is really scary because we have a lifetime of conditioning. We care about everyone else taking up space. If we heard our friend say, I want to write a book, we'd be like, yeah, you should write a book.
Go for
Help
it.
you do, how can I help you? But if it's us saying, I want to do something about this, there's a lot of times a lot of fear or shame that comes in that's like, who am I to be doing this? Or
That's right.
why would I use my energy on this? I should be using my energy to help other people instead. Would you bring us into when you first began getting the inklings that this might want to become a book, and then also how you found a way to give yourself permission to actually do it.
Yeah. Oh man. That was about 3 years for me, and I was kind of terrified. It felt presumptuous to think that my story should take up this kind of space. I just remember feeling that way.
I love that you said that. That just thank you, because it's such a common thought that we all have, but we don't ever know that anyone else is thinking it. I
Right.
hear it all the time. So, and I have
Yeah.
so felt it. I just thank you.
Yeah. We're just all here being human, trying
Yeah.
to make a difference and trying to like live our most authentic story. And that always, I was going to say often, but that always means leaning into a greater purpose and creation and what it is we want to uniquely birth into the world. And that's different for all of us.
And when a book wants to be written, it is definitely it doesn't get quiet really.
No, and maybe that's how I kept it. I remember I was reading a lot of memoirs, and then I kept looking up, like, who actually finishes writing books when they start, and those statistics are really dismal.
Wow.
And I was really discouraged by them, and I'm just like, "I can't do this." I just kept thinking that, but then I just continued to read because I love people's stories, and like you said, it didn't let up. It didn't leave me alone. And something that was different for me because I come from this high control religion, it used to be like I had to really differentiate how is this different than like a call, quote
Yeah.
unquote.
That's good.
And I really needed like so many things I had done in the past, like going to the mission field and adopting children. These were things that I felt very called by God to do. And it didn't feel like I had a choice, actually.
Oh,
hmm It was obligation.
the training says this is what good people do
That's right. And
for.
how could you
Mm,
say no to something like God has in store for you? How could you act like you know better? Which listening to your own thoughts and your own feelings about something is kind of not condoned in those systems because who are you to say, like,
Well, and side note, I grew up that same way. So,
okay,
totally different family system. But yeah, that's probably partly why I was just nodding my head. And yes, yeah, so the
yes,
same way. Your thoughts are actually most likely leading you astray.
right.
Really trained not to trust those. Like, yeah, that's probably, oh, is that from your heart? No.
Right.
The answer is no, then, because it's desperately wicked.
Exactly. So there I was doing all of the things that I felt quote unquote called to do. And then when this new thing came after I had kind of stepped away from that high control religious system, it felt similar. So I really had to spend some time thinking like, what is different about this? And am I obligated or do I have a choice?
That's
Mm,
so good.
mm.
I started using the word calling. I had to not use it for a long time. And I forget about that now. So I'm really glad you said that, because that's such an important distinction. And now I mean that intuitive tug, the joy, the path of joy. Like, I light up when I think about this, even if it would be a bunch of work. This is just drawing me, and there's a joy there that comes with it, or a passion or an interest. That, when I use the word calling, I'm kind of meaning that. However, that's a very important, not obligation. You don't have to do it.
Yeah, that energy that you just described, like that has such a different feel, that type of call. And we know it usually, like we usually know.
You can't get rid of it. It's
Right,
almost annoying.
exactly.
Like,
Well,
you do this,
right.
you're something else. You're like, oh my gosh, shut up. This is scary. I'm not going to do it. you know?
Yep. But people who are listening probably know exactly what we're talking about because you know what your thing what is ahead and what is next and what is for you, even though it terrifies you, that deeper. So I use the word compel. that felt safer to me at the time. Is like I just felt so compelled to tell the story and to do it well and to do it so that other people could feel more courage in their own stories. Because that's what all the stories did for me. It's like paying it forward. Every single story, whether it be through music, through a series on TV, through a book, when people tell their stories, it like gives you courage to show up in your own story in such a powerful way. And I just felt like, okay, I'm going to do that. And I'm choosing to do it. It did feel distinctly different. It felt like it was a choice. And that made all the difference.
You know, we have this like the old paradigm. As soon as I think of it, like there's these little patches of neurons in our head that don't know things change. So they're still talking with the same old messages that keep us safe, you know, like you shouldn't be doing that. But we've decided on a path. We're moving towards this path. We're becoming aligned with this passion that we want to see brought into the world. What did you do when, maybe we'll use the word inner self-talk, that might be a good word for it. You know, when the self-talk began with the old stuff of like, who are you to be putting this out into the world? Or who are you to be doing this? Or what if it doesn't even work? What if you don't finish it? What did you do when those voices popped up or the nervous system went, oh, well, how about fight or flight though?
What I remember most, and I don't know if this is a good answer now that I think about it, but what I thought of was the people like me who needed the story that I was writing. Those people, those like faceless images were so deeply compelling to me to continue, even when I felt so much doubt and so much frustration. I mean, the process is really frustrating.
Yeah, writing a
But
book's not fun.
no, it's so much work. It's so technical. It's really, really freaking hard. And I didn't know that. And I'm glad I didn't know that. But I guess that is a good reason because that's love.
Mhm.
Like love
Oh my
compelled me.
gosh, Lord. What? I can't. I'm going to fall off this chair. Ah! Whoa. Yeah, that's love. That's so good. And we have that. We compassionate people have lots of that. What a
We
nice
sure do.
energy to shift into, kind of. Here comes
Yeah.
fear. Here comes shame, you know. And
Mhm.
it's really easy to get caught up in that. And you sort of shifted states.
I guess so. Yeah. Thank you for reframing that because at first I was like, oh, there's me thinking just about other people. But it was a genuine like how do you
Yeah.
have a connection with people you can't see? But I did. Like I thought of my quote target audience. I thought of these
Oh,
these beloved people
yeah.
that are going through similar pains and similar stories and need this narrative. And that was what brought me back to like, okay, chest out, shoulders back, here we go.
Oh my gosh. I hope I'm not the only person whose eyes are tearing up right now. I can't be. That's so beautiful. It's so true though, because like small example, but like when I started making cartoons, I had that tug for
Mm.
cartoons. And I'm like, I'm not getting in the world of the internet. Are you kidding me? Do you see what people do to folks in the comments there? Like, no,
Oh,
I am never going to do that. Like, I was just terrified just to do that.
wow.
And I would sit down in the morning and make my cup of coffee. My dog would usually be snoring at my feet. And I just think of this person on the other side who's in the same spot I was in. And if I couldn't think of a person, I just thought of me. Like, okay, well,
That's
what
right.
did Molly 15 years ago need to hear? But most often it was this sort of imaginary person. They had a face, but they didn't.
Yep.
And it didn't matter what anybody else said. I just loved them. I felt the love for them. In a way, somebody could look from the outside and say, yeah, Lauren, that's codependent because you're thinking about other people, not yourself, and you're supposed
Mhm.
to only do it for yourself. But they wouldn't understand what codependency really is if they said that,
Mhm.
because codependency comes from like what you were talking about. There's an obligation. It's
Mm.
fear-based. Yeah, I'm serving others, but it's from fear. I've got to keep the people pleased. I have to do this in order to have worth. I have to do this in order to not rock the boat. That is not
That's
what you
right.
just said.
You're
I
right.
am going to be a light in the dark for somebody who is not as far down the path as I am.
Yeah.
And those stories that gave me hope, my story, I know it's going to give somebody else hope. And it does.
It does. I mean, I'm hearing from it. It's so humbling to hear from so many readers.
because it just came out. This baby is 2 weeks old. The book baby is 2 weeks old. By the time everybody hears this episode, it'll probably be about a month old.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I do want you to tell folks where they can get it and how they can follow you. So don't let me forget that. But what are some of the things that have probably touched you the most so far with the feedback that you're
Oh
getting?
my gosh. How to even boil that down. It's just been remarkable how people have been so gracious with this story. It's really scary to put a story out where you're kind of making some decisions that are countercultural, like becoming estranged from your parents is not generally seen in the most positive light.
Yeah.
It's not to where I hope one day it's to where it is like with divorce now, how it's a bit better. People understand sometimes you need to divorce and that's what's best.
Right.
There's some more cultural understanding of that now. I know it still can be really limited, but there's been growth there as a society. That has not yet happened when you need to divorce from your parents.
I'm so glad you said that. Wow, that's so powerful.
Yeah, it hasn't. It's a reality that society really struggles with that. And that's because of these beliefs that we've heard, our whole lives, that blood is thicker than water and that family above all else, and that no one loves you like your mom and dad. And all of these things keep us stuck in this narrative that when a relationship is beyond the point of repair, what do you do then when those narratives don't fit your situation? And it puts a lot of people, I mean, this is very common, in a very shame-based position. And a lot of people
compassionate people too, as compassionate people are feeling it. Oh, that's extra hard.
Right. And honestly, a lot of the people that, from my anecdotal evidence that I've seen, a lot of people that experience it are those compassionate people because they have done so much of that inner journey to themselves and they've found their voice and they've realized if I'm going to be mentally and physically healthy, I need to have these appropriate, this is you, border around you, this is me, border around me, and
boundaries.
I need to have these boundaries.
Are you hearing from people then that have experienced estrangement or are experiencing estrangement?
So many people. It's unbelievable. So many people. And of course, every single story is different, but the major themes are coming through and the feedback has been just above and beyond encouraging.
It's so cool. And it's just getting started.
Right. I know it's still just a little baby.
This is so cool. I would love, by the way, for my listeners, if you are able to, when you do read the book, if you would go on and leave Lauren a review on Goodreads or Amazon or wherever it is.
I would love
help. Yeah. We compassionate people, we stick together.
That's
we help each
right.
other. So, would you tell everybody where they can get this book, how they can find you, follow you guys?
Absolutely. So we are on Facebook and Instagram at flourish_therapy, and that's our practice. So I don't think I said in the beginning, I'm a mind-body practitioner. You might have mentioned it actually. So I work with people.
It was many years ago.
It was years ago in conversation time. And then my husband, he is a therapist, and we have a practice. We live in Thailand, but we have a practice where we see people virtually and in person, and absolutely love what we do. So there's our practice. We do a lot on childhood trauma and dysfunctional family
with children or with adults.
We work with adults. Yeah, we work primarily with adults.
I thought so, but I wasn't sure. Well, that's kind of neat then, because I wonder if this book is going to influence the practice,
the demographics of it.
Yeah. So the childhood trauma that includes perhaps estrangement.
Yeah. I mean, we've definitely had many clients, even in this process, that end up having various estrangements from different family members for different reasons. So that is kind of a growing area of expertise for us. But the overall, how do you rebuild a life as an adult when you have had various childhood trauma, which is pretty much everyone, in our opinion.
Well, and if Luke, I don't know this for sure, but if Luke is the therapist, if he brings himself into his therapist practice in the way that he brings himself into his marriage and relationships,
he does.
You're in good. I could believe it because he seems so authentic.
Does.
So
he's such a gem. Thank you for seeing that. It's like one of my book coaches was like, he's kind of like so Frodo in Lord of the Rings who was the Samwise?
Samwise. Mm-hmm.
He's like, she was like, Luke is kind of like your Samwise. He's like your guide in a sense, like you are the guide, but then you have this person with you. And she was saying, a lot of stories have that, and that was him. And so I'm happy that shone through because he
the
was
power of a healthy person.
right, exactly. And as much as it was the peripheral story, in some ways it was the main story because that type of love that was juxtaposed against the other kind of love I was seeing was so different that it almost gave me this model and helped me step out of the unhealthy system I was in because I saw something so much different and so much better and more real and more sustainable because I can change in this system and I don't get discarded.
Would you bring everybody into, okay, so we have these dysfunctional systems where everyone has these certain roles. And by the way, I always think that's so interesting how the micro is the macro. You can see on a big, huge systemic scale.
You sure
all the way down. Yeah. It's pretty good. It kind of, once you see it, you're like, oh my gosh, these principles apply. But what do humans get to be in a healthy system?
I'm actually going to read you a quote that I love. You may remember it from the book. It's by Glennon Doyle. And she says, "A broken family is any family that pledges allegiance to a prescribed structure above each member's full humanity. A broken family is a family in which any member must break herself into pieces to fit in. A whole family is one in which each member can bring her full self to the table, knowing that she will always be both held and free." I think that's it. You can bring your full self and you'll always be both held, so that belonging will always be there, and free. You're allowed to be your autonomous, authentic self.
Amazing.
I love it so much. And that's my new vision for my family moving forward and being a cycle breaker and doing it differently.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Tell folks where they can get the book. And we'll put all this in the show notes as well, everybody.
Sure.
So you'll be able
That's
to find
fantastic. It. If my book is sounding interesting to you, I would be so honored for you to read it. It is an ebook and paperback on Amazon. And you can also order it through on Amazon as an audiobook or anywhere else that you buy audiobooks. Some people don't get audiobooks on Audible, and it's also on all those other platforms. So it's called Golden Child, My Descent to Scapegoat and Rise to Freedom. And my name is Lauren Smallcomb. And yeah, I just feel super thankful for people, considering my story as another story in the grand, larger story of life. It's so cool.
It's so cool. And you have, you started some, like an Instagram account, and would you mind telling everyone your social?
Yeah,
and that way folks who like to support that way can go follow and.
Yeah, definitely. And these it's at Golden Child Book on Instagram and Facebook. And this is just all the book content. So if you really are interested in these themes of estrangement, leaving fundamentalism, I'm posting that specific content on there as well. So
yeah, you're making a lot of good content. It's really cool.
Thank you so much. Yeah. That means a lot.
Lauren, this has been an absolute joy.
Thank you so much, friend.
My compassionate friend, I am so glad you're with us. We are the compassionate revolution. We are the change the world needs, and we're becoming it. If you loved this episode, please share it with a friend or give this podcast a 5-star review. I'd appreciate it so much. And if you'd like to get practical and work with me more closely on boundaries, you can come visit me at boundaried.com. That's boundaried with a D.com for amazing resources. Because this is how we do it. One action at a time. We are moving into our power. And I'm so proud to be in this movement with you.